Haas. If there's a gene for talent playing golf, Jay certainly has that. His uncle Bob was an outstanding pro Masters winner. His second son Bill has been on the PGA Tour since 2006. His oldest son Jay Jr. and brother Jerry Haas also played on the PGA Tour. An outstanding golfer on what may have been, there's a debate on this, the greatest college team ever in Wake Forest. So we'll have to debate that later on. Jay turned pro in 1976. He won 33 times on the PGA and Champions Tour. I could stand up here a long time talking about all of his accomplishments, like the Jack Nicklaus Award, the Arnold Palmer Award, the Bob Jones Award, the highest honor given by the USGA. He was the Champions Tour Player of the Year in 2006. He defied age. In 2005, he played on both the PGA and the Champions Tour. His last win on the Champions Tour was just a year and a half ago at the Toshiba Classic. Just a point of emphasis of his consistency, Jay made the cut 592 times on the PGA Tour. So tonight we honor Jay Haas as the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame legend of golf. Can you imagine making the cut 592 times? Peter Jacobsen. Peter became a legend of many of us in August of 2004 when he won the Senior PGA Championships at Belle Reve. He shot a 12-under par, 276 to beat Hale Irwin by one shot. I remember it well. I'm sure Hale does too, as a matter of fact. Peter won 2 majors 7 times on the tour. He played on 2 Ryder Cup teams, but his contributions to golf go far beyond the scores and the championships. 5 years ago, he was named the PGA Tour's recipient of the Payne Stewart Award, which is given to a player sharing the steward's respect for the traditions of the game. He's helped design more than 10 golf courses, and he's written 2 golf books so far, including one titled Embedded Balls. I know a doctor that's a treatment for that. Peter won the Skills Challenge twice on NBC TV, which was produced by our president, Greg Marisek. Peter's more than popular for his TV work on the Golf Channel on NBC Sports. His Jake's Tales adds some levity to the broadcast. Peter and Friends, Peter Jacobsen Plugged In are also very popular. Sometimes golf telecasts get a little stiff, so Peter adds some fun. He's also famous for a football style of tackle of a streaker on the 18th hole of Royal St. Andrews in the Open Championship. Maybe that's where the title of Embedded Balls comes from. This past weekend, Peter and Jay teamed up with the Legends of Golf event down near Branson. They finished 17 under par, tied for 16th, and each banked over 14,000. Together, that's about 10,000 more than Bob Golding won. 10,000 more than Golding won at the Masters. I know that was 50 years ago, but still. So here's what we're going to do tonight with these 2 legends. Let them interview each other. So here's the comedy team of Peter Jacobsen and Jay Haas.
All right. I was told to keep all the jokes above the belt, but obviously we're going below the belt.
Well, you write a book with that kind of title, what the hell do you expect?
Well, when I tackled the naked fella on the 18th green at Royal St. George's, it had to be a guy. There are a lot of streakers, but not many guys. So it had to be a guy. Couldn't be a woman, it had to be a guy.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to get on with this. Yes, Jay and I played last week at the Legends up at Johnny Morris's playground, Big Cedar Lodge, and Jay and I had a hole-in-one. We had a hole-in-one on the 7th hole at Mountaintop.
Jay had a hole-in-one.
No, it's a team event. It's a team event. We had a one. We had a one. I'm going to start this off. The thing that was interesting about coming tonight, being the interviewer, was I really don't know much about Jay, so I looked him up on Wikipedia, and the first name that popped up was Jay Haas, mixed martial arts champion. And I thought, I was looking for a picture, so I didn't happen to not know who he was tonight. Younger fellow, 27 years old, 5'7", 140 pounds. And the thing that concerned me was that Jay has lost his last 2 fights to a guy named Scott Heckman. both by submission. And the last one in 59 seconds. So I thought Jay probably was not a mixed martial art champion, so went to the second page and I came up with Jay Dean Haas, born in St. Louis. So I knew I had the right guy. Is that you?
That is me. Born in St. Louis, lived in Belleville most of my life, a younger life, but I'm a St. Louisan, I guess you could say that.
So you played a lot of junior golf in this area. What are some of your great memories from junior golf?
You know, I've seen quite a few people here tonight that I remember from way back when. So Bo Jackson here, he caddied for his dad, who beat me in the finals of the St. Louis District at Glen Echo. I think you were 13 then, 12 or 13 maybe then.
Bo Jackson.
You were older than me? No, how old are you? Oh, he's older than me. Not many people are anymore. But, you know, it's just talking about Belle Reve, how great the St. Louis area was for junior golfers. I think I say this all the time when I do junior clinics. Now we have the first tee, and Jay Haas, congratulations for your role in that. That's wonderful. We didn't have anything like that, you know, nationwide. But St. Louis was always a great place to play. The clubs in the area welcomed the junior players, had some great programs. But Belle Reve, I remember going with Bob, walking the fairways in '65 for the U.S. Open there, and it just seemed like this massive course, and it seems like that today too. It's really a long golf course, an hard golf course, but what a great place to hold a major championship, and they've had some great ones in the past.
What are some of the aspects about Belle Reve that set it apart from other major championship sites?
You know, I think just the conditioning of the golf course, certainly back then, Bermuda fairways way back then, I just remember moving those fairways, probably had never seen anything quite like that at that time in golf. And it was a fairly new golf course then, but I just remember thinking that it was a course that I would never play. It was just too long and hard of a golf course for me. But it just had that feel, a certain feel that it was a major championship venue, and you know, it's proven it in the past. With Gary Player's a champion that year, Nick Price, Peter Jacobsen, Koki Adoki, some, you know, right down the list there. That's right.
Jacobsen to Koki Adoki. One guy's Hall of Fame, the other guy's All Coast almost.
What were you thinking about down the stretch there in that championship with Hale Irwin and Jay Haas breathing down your neck?
I was so nervous. It was hot. Remember how
it was hot? That's
we
right.
played 36 holes. I played with Craig Stadler the last day. 36 holes. Craig had his shirt out the whole time. And this is a football town. This is a football town. You know what the red zone is? You know what that is? Inside 20. I was inside Craig's thighs for the last 12 holes. That was the red zone on that hot day. But coming down the stretch, I knew I was tied with you, Hale, and Tom Kite.
Yeah.
We were all jockeying for the win. And I just remember just put the ball on the green, make some pars, because in big tournaments like Senior Open or any major championship, you try to just hold your position. These guys know you don't want to make mistakes. Let everybody else make a mistake. And I ended up making pars last year.
You didn't stub your toe at all coming in there. That was great playing, great
championship.
Thank you.
But I want to go back to this big debate about the greatest college team ever.
Well, I do too, yeah.
Because the fakers and pretenders out there on the West Coast at UCLA do not stack up to the Wake Forest Demon
That's
Beatles.
right.
You, Curtis, David Thor, Bob Byman,
right.
And who was the fifth on the team?
You know, we brought in some different guys.
Arnold Palmer.
Arnold Palmer, that's right. Arnold Palmer. He was a senior when I was a freshman. He might have been fifth-year senior, though.
He was. He had an airplane, though.
Jay Haas, did you guys win the NCAA in that stretch? I know, sorry.
Well, there you go. Right there.
We happened to slip by 33 strokes the second time we won it at Ohio State. I don't know.
Do you remember in 1975, you won the individual championship at Ohio State
Right.
University. You remember you beat Jerry Payton?
I beat Jerry Payton.
Do you remember who kept your card the first 2 rounds of that tournament?
An Oregon Duck, I know that. I don't know, is it Peter Jacobsen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, so again, like I share the hole-in-one, I share the individual championship. My name is on the scorecard. That's as close as I got. That's as close as I got.
You know, we didn't see you guys that much. You know, West Coast, East Coast, it was more of a regional college tournaments back then. We didn't travel as much as they do now. Guys go to Hawaii, go to Puerto Rico, go all these wonderful places, and we just kind of played. If we couldn't get there in a van, we didn't go.
Well, we were in a van. We lived in a van down by the river. That's what we did. No, the biggest claim to fame at the University of Oregon is that when my wife Jan and I were there at school on campus, they filmed Animal House at the University of Oregon campus. Yeah. So our buddy Jules Marine, he by the way said to say hi to you. I believe John Belushi's character was based on Jules
I
Marine
can
as
understand
well.
that, yeah.
But tell us a little bit about the college team you had. Obviously, great competition. You won the NC2As, but how good a player was Curtis and Byman and DT and all the guys on
Yeah, they were all wonderful players, and that was, like I said, being in that region, almost every decent junior player wanted to go to Wake Forest. Alabama had a pretty good team. Florida had a good team. Georgia, okay, but nowadays Georgia Tech is one of the top teams. I don't even think they had a team back then. So it's just golf has really blossomed. But getting to play with Curtis was probably the best player in college golf then. He and Jerry Payton were just magnificent players. And I always have told Curtis, and in front of him, he was kind of a spectacular player back then. And by that I mean he could shoot 65 or 6 or 7 at any time. And guys just didn't shoot those scores back then. It didn't seem like, if you shot 70, 71, 72, you were, playing really well. But Curtis was a beautiful player and pushed all of us, I think. Bob Byman was the national junior champ, ended up playing on the tour for about 8 years or so, won Bay Hill 1 year. David Thor played on the tour for a little while. But, when you have a team like Jay had and like some of these college teams have now, you get pushed from inside that own nucleus of the team. And the reason I went to Wake was the guy sitting over there, Bob Golby, he played with Lanny Watkins in the 1970 Harbortown, the Heritage Tournament, and Bob won and Lanny finished second, and Lanny was a junior at Wake Forest at the time. He was an amateur, finished second in the tournament, and I remember him coming home and saying, I think you should go to Wake Forest. If that's the kind of players they have at Wake Forest, you got to play against those guys every day. And I said, okay. I didn't even think about college at that time. But that's how I got to Wake, kind of.
You won 9 tournaments on the PGA Tour, 18 on the Champions Tour so far, with 3 major championships. The thing that impresses me the most is your first win was in 1978, San Diego. Andy Williams, San Diego Open. You got singing lessons from Andy Williams. You should do Moon River, or maybe we'll do it later.
We'll do that later.
We'll do it later. But then your most recent win was 2016 in California, also Toshiba just down the road. But that's 38 years between wins, and isn't that's an impressive thing. What do you attribute the consistency in your game over that many years?
I think health-wise, I've been pretty healthy most of my career. Certainly on the PGA Tour, didn't lose much time, but I think mentally, just continuing to have a pretty good passion for the game, I think is important for all of us. And we go out to play golf. The golfers, we want to play. I can't wait to get to the course. And I think it just listening to Jay Williams, I think it fueled him. The passion to compete and to prove that he could do it. And being an individual sport, it's so gratifying, I think, to hit a good shot. And it's a tough game. You got the stick and the ball and the hole, and it's a long way to go and a lot of trouble around. So to be successful at that's pretty cool, and I think that drove me. And I want to say that my last win, I had the best caddy I've ever had, and that was my wife, Jay Haas, was my caddy. And no driving a cart. not driving the cart either. She put the bag on her shoulder, and what a thrill that was for me.
Since you bring up your wife, Jan, my wife also was named Jan, sitting right here.
That's right.
Take us
Who
back.
played on the team at Oregon?
Played on the team at Oregon, yes. We got golf in the genes. None of our kids played golf. None of our kids played golf. So
I think I saw what it did to you.
Yeah, I made enough bogeys for the entire team, for the entire family. Let's go back to 2015. You're the President's Cup captain. You played on 3 Ryder Cup teams, 2 President's Cup teams, so you know what that pressure is all about. You're the captain of the team. You're coming down to the last hole, and it's a family affair. I was on the broadcast team with NBC, and we were highlighting everything about the United States, which is great, but the Haas family is a very special family. We all would agree with that in the game of golf. We have the Nicklaus family, but we have the Haas family too. Don't mean to embarrass you, but Bill comes down to the last hole with a chance to win the President's Cup for the United States. You're seen on television talking to him. Can you tell us a little bit about what you were thinking and what you're talking about?
Well, we had to make the pairings obviously the day before, the night before, and in the President's Cup, you pair, the one team goes first, and then the opposing team pairs a guy against that first guy, and then your team goes again in the 2 slot, the other team goes, you go back and forth, a ladder effect. And I kept thinking we'd put Bill out about 6, 7, somewhere in there, and we kind of, Freddie was my assistant, Freddie Couples was the assistant, and he kept pointing these names, and at the end, it was Matt Kuchar and Bill Haas were the only 2 left. And I think they had Brandon Grace in Sangmoon Bay, who was like the hometown hero there in South Korea. And I don't know, we ended up putting Matt in the 11th spot and Bill in the 12th. And we had maybe a 2-point lead going the last day, and I just kind of thought that it was going to be a foregone conclusion by the time those guys even got there. You know, the 10th, 11th, 12th guy, they were just going to be playing just for the heck of it. Well, it turned out the tide turned in the middle of the day, and it started to get all blue up on the board. We were the red team, and as I looked at it, it sure looked like it was going to come down to Bill's match, and he was even, I think, going to number 13, and he made a birdie there, made a long putt to go 1 up. And he parred 14, 15, 16, 17, still 1 up going the last hole. And by this time, 11 players from the U.S., 11 players from the international team, 11 caddies from the U.S., 11 caddies from the international team, wives, girlfriends, press. There's more people inside the ropes than outside the ropes almost. And he hit 2 beautiful drive, a beautiful second shot just in the greenside bunker with an easy shot. And, you know, I'm tallying this up in my head. You know, I think if he, you know, we're going to win this thing. And I was so emotional, couldn't hardly talk. Roger Maltby stuck a microphone in my face and tried to get something out. I sounded like a little mouse. A little squeak came out. And it was just, you know, so happy for the team, for Bill. It was just an amazing experience of what golf, the experiences that we've had over the years, that's probably the top to see that happen.
I would say that all of us in the game, Jerry, Jay, we on the tour, we've had great mentors. We've had the baton passed. And you've been so lucky to have your Uncle Bob Colby give you so many great lessons and directions in the game and in life. What are some of the great lessons you've learned from Bob?
Well, all the time I tell everyone the best lesson I ever had was the first one, was turn my belt buckle to the target and get up on my right toe. That was how he taught me when I was 5 or 6 years old. The very first lesson I had. Well, little did I know that, I mean, that's basically the fundamentals of golf, you know, shifting your weight and turning through and everything, and that one little thing, that's just kind of what got me started. But, you know, so many memories, being with him mentoring me, as I always say, putting his arm around me in the literal sense of just guiding me through my early years in golf, and how to act, how to you know, carry myself on the golf course. And I always say he was kind of the first tee before the first tee program. He told he would tell the guys and girls how how to act and watch the best players and watch how they handle themselves. And he always would tell me great stories about the great players. You know, he never was negative with me, and I think that's probably the best lesson I had.
I remember early on when we were just on tour, we were 22, we came out of the same tour school.
Brownsville,
Texas.
Wow.
Well, that's a fabulous spot to go.
Talking about the tour school, these guys, everybody that's been to the tour school, it's like the last place on earth you want to be. In Brownsville, if you're on vacation, is the last place on earth you want to be.
Does this remind you of anything? The rain was coming sideways. It was blowing so hard. But I remember early on coming to St. Louis and playing in Pro-Ams at Old Horse, and I remember being with Bob, and Bob was so great to all of us, including Curtis Strange and Phil Hancock, a lot of the young players. But I said earlier about the baton being passed, and it's so true, because Bob would say to us, guys, look, we're going to get to the course, we're going to have lunch, you're going to sit with your team, you're going to talk to them about golf, we're going to go do a clinic, I'm going to ask you to come up, hit a couple shots, and then when we go to dinner, he said, I'm going to speak, I'm going to say some things, we'll get Arnold up, we'll get Hale to say a few words. You just have to be nice to the people at your table. And because that's really how we were going to learn how to do it. And so I think of Bob Dolby, obviously he's a great player, Masters champion, but I think of Bob as more as a mentor about how to be a professional on the PGA Tour. And that's why I ask you the lessons that you learned from Bob.
Well, I noticed you got the Bay Hill tie on there too, and I know that you were very close to Arnold, played with him countless times. Talk to us a little bit about that relationship.
Well, we lost Arnold a year and a half ago, and I was so honored. I was asked to be one of the player hosts, the tournament hosts at the last two Arnold Palmer Invitationals. And what that involved was basically trying to cover the bases for Arnold with all of his corporate responsibilities and the duties that he would have to do during the week. Now, Jay and I and all the players would go to a cocktail party that Arnold would have, and we'd make an appearance with him, but I'm there doing television with NBC, so I have more free time than if I were playing. And when I got my list of duties, Curtis was a host last year, and we had Ricky Fowler and Nancy Lopez this year. And we got our request, we got our ask. And I'm looking at this list, and I'm like, wow, between all of us, we have so many things to do, but it just went to show me all the things that Arnold would do to commit to the tournament and to commit. That's just one PGA Tour event on the circuit. And all these events that I would do, but I'm happy to do it. It was it's an honor to do it. But to think about what Arnold did for that event and what he did for the hospital, the Arnold and Winnie Palmer Hospital Foundation down there, and now they've got the Arnie's Army Charitable Foundation, hopefully to continue Arnold's work. But Arnold meant a lot to you and I. In fact, just one quick story about that. Arnold played his tournament at Bay Hill for so many years, and I know you guys played with him. But he wanted to play one last year. And he said, look, I'm not going to play, I don't want to get paired with people. I want to pick my pairings or I'm not playing. So they said, okay, you can pick the two players that you get to play with. That's kind of power on that. Well, he picked Jay.
I say that every week, but they don't
listen.
listen.
They don't listen. Arnold picked Jay, and he picked me. So we got to play with Arnold, his last group at Arnold Palmer at the Bay Hill Invitational, and I'll never forget, we got on the first tee, and Arnold went up and shook everybody's hand. He walked over to the scoreboard carrier, you know, the standard bearer, and he looked him straight in the eye. And when Arnold looked you straight in the eye, you knew you meant business. And he looked at the person, he said, don't put any scores up by my name. You can put them for Haas and Jacobsen, but not for Palmer, this little 12-year-old kid. Sure, Mr. Palmer. So we played, and Arnold played, and I mean that was an honor. That was quite an honor. Are the players better today than in the past?
I don't think so. I think there's more of them. And I don't mean to be flippant about that, but I think that in every prime of these Hall of Fame players, if you saw them, you'd say, well, that's the best player I've ever seen. If Bob played with Ben Hogan and Sam Snead and Billy Casper and Gene Littler and Arnold. I mean, all these wonderful players, and you'd be hard-pressed to say that they would be better than the players of today, too. But you look at what the players of today are doing. Now, Bob would say, I've heard him say recently that, I read it in a wonderful interview in Golf or Golf Digest about that they should be better, or we hadn't done a very good job teaching them. But just the equipment, you know, you look at some of these old videos and that little wooden head that I see a lot of gray hairs out there too that play with some of those woods. It's incredible what a difference the equipment makes today. The mowers, the greens are so much better, no spike marks. You know, it's just, you know, give Jack and Arnold and Bob and all these guys the same equipment, and they're going to be pretty damn good.
I was asked that question out in the interview just a little bit earlier, and my first reaction was, the players are better today. They say, you know, Tiger and Jack. And I said, well, Tiger probably, because Tiger, he's stronger, he's leaner, he hits it farther. But then I thought, I said, if I want to get a new driver, all I have to do is call up my manufacturer, and I step into a hitting bay and hit 20 drivers, and I walk out with something that's screwed in and bolted on, and
it fits you.
And it fits me. It's like a jacket or a pair of shoes. Back in our day, when you wanted to get a new driver, you went to the old club barrel, and you took 6 or 8 of them out on the range. Isn't that right? And you hit them. I remember when
found one.
Couples, didn't he win the Masters using Linda Watson's 3-wood?
He did, yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Craig Stadler won the Masters with a driver he pulled out of a club barrel down in home in San Diego. So when you look at it, all things being equal, Bob Golby and Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus and Jug McSpaden, all the great players, they were better because they had to figure it out. Today,
and they would have. The players of today, the great players of today, would have figured it out 20 years ago too. But it's hard to compare.
Okay, I'm going to ask you one last question, then we're going to do rapid fire. I just wrote these things while I was sitting there. Didn't know we had to do that. First of all, what's the most impactful win you've ever had in your career?
Probably my first in 1978.
Was that because of Andy Williams?
It was because of Andy Williams,
Was
yes.
that because of the crooner?
Yes, he was. Always wanted to win his tournament. Just to know that I could compete and play on the PGA Tour. You know, because I'd watched these guys with Bob and in the locker room when I was this big, and now I'm out there, and I thought I was, you know, I was in the deep end. Didn't know if I could touch bottom or not. But I think that kind of spurred me on to believe that I could continue to do it. How about you? That's a good question.
Probably the most fun win, well, the Senior Open at Bellerive, clearly the most impactful win in my career. Simply because I played in, I'm a big USGA guy. I love the foundation of the game of golf, and I played in US Juniors, US Amateurs, US Opens. So to win the US Senior Open at such a great club, Bellerive, I just love the club.
Great golf fans here in the city, don't you think?
Fans. So it was the most impactful win. The most fun win, though, for me, was winning the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, playing with Jack Lemmon, to show you how for Jack Lemmon. Remember the great Jack Lemmon? The human hinge, you could take a backswing, and then up here, literally would creak up at the top of the swing. I was in second place after 3 rounds at 13 under. And the team cut was, I think, 16 under. And our team missed the cut. Jack helped me 1 stroke. Kind of like you and I last week. I helped you. I think I helped you 2 shots. That's about what I helped you with. But the most fun
We made
was...
that hole in one.
Yeah, that's the only time I helped you. That was the most fun win, simply because of the everything involved. And I'm a Portland, Oregon kid, born and raised, so Pebble Beach was near and dear to my heart. Okay. Oh, you had mentioned something about putting cross-handed the last round. I was paired with Mike Holbert, hubby, in San Diego, where you won, in the final group, and I was 3 strokes ahead going into the last day playing with hubby. He breaks out one-handed putting on the last day. So going cross-handed is not nuts. It goes to show you how certifiable golfers are. Hubby comes out putting one-handed, he's on the first green, and he's going like this. I figured just doing a little warm-up, little shadow box thing, and he gets up to a 20-footer, and he strokes it one-handed, and he knocks it right in. I looked at Fluff, my old caddy, I said, did he hit that one-handed? And he birdied 2 and he birdied 3 and we were tied. I figured, uh-oh. All right, rapid fire. Here we go, I just wrote these. Rapid fire for Jay Haas, part 1. A long drive or a straight drive?
I've never had a long drive, so I'll take the long drive.
Making a long putt or holding a chip?
Holding a chip.
Miley Cyrus or Justin Bieber?
I'll go with Marcella's comment. Who?
The Voice or American Idol?
The Voice.
Tiger or Jack?
Jack.
The best part of a cupcake? The cake or the frosting?
The cake.
Cake or icing?
Jancy icing on the
Yeah,
cake.
well, my Jancy icing too. Whenever we get a cupcake, she just goes like, there you go, there's the rest. Cake or ice cream?
Ice cream.
Broccoli or asparagus?
Ooh. I'll choke down either one every now and then.
A milkshake or a blizzard?
Boy, that's a tough call there. Milkshake.
The 12th at Augusta or the 7th at Pebble? The 12th hole at Augusta, I'll give you a little more time.
I think
12th hole at Augusta or the 7th hole at Pebble Beach?
Pebble.
And the last question, Nancy Lopez or Nancy Pelosi? Ladies and gentlemen, Jay Haas.
Peter Jacobsen.
We welcome them as legends of St. Louis golf. Jay Haas, Peter Jacobsen.
Peter and I met back in the early 90s when we did the first Skills Challenge on NBC. Paul Azinger, John Daly, Ray Floyd, Hale Irwin, Phil Mickelson's first year, Nick Price, Chichi Rodriguez, and Peter Jacobsen. And I put this together with NBC. The prize money was $400,000. Pretty good deal for a Monday. And the very first year, the winner wins $100,000. He's right here. He won. He sends me a letter in the off season saying, hey, this was really nice. I really appreciate it. And win. So we did the second year and we invited him back. And really, I mean, he didn't have to win it twice. We're trying to spread it around a little bit, but he did. He won it the second year as well. And I bet you haven't seen one of these. The Skills Challenge sweatshirt is yours. You'll take the two-time winner of the Skills Challenge on NBC.